bidang kesehatan, tapi pengen kuliah di sini.
Tenang, jangan khawatir, karena kalian semua bisa jadi mahasiswa di program studi Magister Promosi Kesehatan FKM Unif Semarang ini. Bahkan dari D4 juga bisa loh.
Buka bagi semua disiplin ilmu yang ingin mengembangkan karir dan minat di bidang kesehatan.
Belajar tentang teknologi dan media promosi kesehatan.
Mudahan fasilitas untuk mengikuti kegiatan non-akademis.
Kurikulum yang dirancang untuk menyelesaikan studi dalam waktu 3 semester.
Biaya pendidikan yang terjangkau.
Tenaga pendidik yang berpengalaman dan ahli di bidangnya.
Bisa belajar mengenai health promotion yang ada di luar negeri melalui program residensi.
Menghasilkan tenaga promosi kesehatan yang mampu mengidentifikasi dan juga merumuskan masalah secara tepat mengenai perilaku beresiko kesehatan.
Kak, spill dong kerjanya sekarang apa? Kan alumni dari sini, ya enggak?
Hai, saya Osano Varian, saya asli Semarang. Saya masuk di Magister Promosi Kesehatan tahun 2017. Saat ini saya bekerja di PT Freeport Indonesia di Divisi Operasi Tambang Bawah Tanah sebagai Safety Assurance and Compliance. Perkuliahan di Magister Promosi Kesehatan sangat seru, tempat perkuliahannya sangat nyaman, dosen-dosennya sangat profesional, dan komunikatif serta inspiratif. Terima kasih Magister Promosi Kesehatan. Saya akan ikut berpartisipasi dalam meningkatkan derajat kesehatan, khususnya pada pekerja di sektor industri pertambangan.
Saya Kurnia Ramadhani, asal Probolinggo. Saya masuk di Magister Promosi Kesehatan FKM Undip tahun 2011 dan lulus tahun 2013. Manfaat yang saya rasakan selama belajar di sana, yang pertama, saya merasa terbiasa dengan metode pembelajaran internasional. Yang kedua, melalui praktek lapangan, merupakan bekal implementasi di dunia kerja. Yang ketiga, program mendukung skill improvement melalui pelatihan dan seminar.
Dengan metode perkuliahan dan kualitas kurikulum kami yang relevan dengan kebutuhan di lapangan, terbukti lulusan program Magister Promosi Kesehatan FKM Undip Semarang dapat memiliki kompetensi sebagai manajer, edukator atau dosen, konsultan dan peliti pada bidang promosi kesehatan, dan dapat bekerja pada semua bidang pekerjaan, baik di instansi pemerintah maupun swasta.
Nah kan, masa depan kalian ada di sini.
Tunggu apa lagi? Selamat datang di program studi Magister Promosi Kesehatan Fakultas Kesehatan Masyarakat Universitas Diponegoro, Semarang.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to greet our speaker today. Good morning, Dr. Fukle.
Good morning, everyone.
How are you, Doctor?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. How about you? Long time no see.
Yes, it's good to see you again.
Yeah.
Okay, can we start our today's session?
Yeah, I'm ready now.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Undip Global Classroom session organized by the Master of Health Promotion, Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Diponegoro. Today, we are very honored to have Dr. Fukle Ngok joining us as our guest lecturer from the Faculty of Anthropology, University of Social Sciences and Humanities, Vietnam. She will share insights on pandemics, misinformation, and trust, why people believe or don't believe in health advice. This session will be conducted fully in English, so students are welcome to ask questions directly during the discussion session or through the chat box. Before I give a brief a brief case about what we are going to talk about today. I would like to greet our lecturer today, Professor Zahra Saluhia. Good morning, Professor. Okay. Good morning, Ibu Dr. Ratih Indraswari. And then
Yes, good morning.
good morning. And then good morning, Ibu Aditya Kusumawati, SKM MKes. And we also have Pak Besar Tirto Husodo, SKM MKes, SOS MKes. And we have Pak Kolil as well. Selamat pagi, Mas Kolil. Okay, so over the past few years, we have learned that pandemics are not only public health crisis, but also communication crisis. Alongside the spread of disease, misinformation, and also disinformation can spread rapidly, influencing how people perceive risk, respond to health recommendations, and place trust in health institutions and professionals. Understanding why people choose to trust or to distrust health advice has become essential in building effective public health strategies and strengthening community resilience. Today, we are very fortunate to learn from Dr. Fukle Tingok, who will share valuable insights and perspectives on the relationship between pandemics, misinformation, and public trust in health communication. So without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Fukle Tingok to begin her presentation. But before we listen to your presentation, can we have a photo session to brighten up and level up our mood today? Okay, so I would like to call everyone to please open up your camera. We will have a photo session before we start to listen to Dr. Fukle. Please give us your best smile and turn on your camera. Okay, we will wait until maybe 10 seconds. Oh, we have Pak Syamsul Huda, Bapak Dr. Syamsul Huda. How are you, sir? Apa kabar, Pak? Sehat, Bapak? Alhamdulillah. Okay. Even though he is still mute, but I can listen that he said he is checking up his health in the hospital, I think. Speedy recovery, Pak Syamsul. Okay, thank you for everyone who has already opened up your camera. So let's cheer up and look at the camera. I will count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, next page. 1, 2, 3. Last page. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Now let's listen and we will have the session from Dr. Fukle for the presentation. The floor is yours.
Okay. So now, wait. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. Thank you very much for kind introductions about me. Good morning, everyone. It's a great measure and honor to be here with all of you today. I would like to sincerely thank the organization's committees for invitations and for creating this opportunity for us to share and discuss this important issue today. I'm Phúc, and I'm lecturer in anthropology at University of Social Science and Humanity, Vietnam National University in Ho Chi Minh City. Let me introduce a little bit about myself. My academic background is medical anthropology and health social science, and I have graduated in Mahidol University in Thailand. My research interest now I focus on the health sick skin behavior, or aging, ethnic minority communities, and social dimensions of health and illness. Just like upgrade my interest, my research interest now is the health communications, because we live in like the digital transformations era now. So sometimes we need to think about the health communications in the new context, the contemporary context. And actually, I'm so happy to join these sessions, and I hope today my presentations will encourage further discussions and reflections on the role of the medical anthropology in understanding about like the health behavior and the public health communications. Actually, I think no. We just like today is not like the lectures. Today is not like the lecture. I think today just look like the chance opportunities for us to share, to exchange the idea and learn from one another, because I'm have extensive experience in various aspects of this topic, but I believe that each of us bring valuable perspective from our own professionals and personal experience in Vietnam or in Indonesia or whatever. So now let I share my screen a little bit. So I guess if I sharing. Mm, okay. Oh no. Yeah. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see it. Maybe you can slideshow the PowerPoint.
Slideshow the PowerPoint. Let me.
Yes, thank you.
Is it clear now?
Yes, clear.
Okay. Okay. So I want to start with one questions for all of you. Okay, now my questions is, why during the same pandemic, right? For example, like the COVID-19, and with access to the same public health recommendations and living in a time when the scientific informations were available, did people respond so differently?
Yes,
I
I
want
think.
to, yeah, I want to listen from, like from your story or from your case, your experience about this disease, this pandemic in Indonesia at that time.
Mhm. Okay, is there anyone who wants to share your thoughts about the information that has been spread during the pandemic? Dalam bahasa Indonesia nggak apa-apa, bisa saya bantu translate. Ada yang mau menyampaikan pandangannya, mungkin ceritanya ya, zaman pandemi COVID kemarin, seperti apa informasi-informasi, masyarakat, bagaimana masyarakat menangkap informasi yang disebarkan. Silahkan. Anyone? Okay, we have one comment here.
Yeah.
Some informations are what is not clear enough. Some
Yeah.
informations are not clear enough, so it makes the community panicking. And
Okay.
then we have another comment. Infodemic, many information valid and not valid about pandemic. Yeah. Thank you to Kamaliatus and Rayu. Is there any other opinion or thoughts or sharing experience?
Wow. Okay. Okay. So now, uh, another question is right during the COVID-19, why did some people just vaccines immediately, but others remain the skit core even though both group has access to large amount of the scientific information.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
The questions is during the COVID-19, right? Everyone need to like the intake the vaccines, right?
Right.
And why did some people just vaccines immediately? They practice they intake the vaccines immediately, but other people they remain the skip they skip
Mhm.
they skip even though both group has access to the large amount of the scientific information.
Mhm. Okay, is there any opinion from you? Kenapa sebagian masyarakat ada yang langsung mau divaksinasi, tapi sebagian yang lain itu mereka nggak mau gitu, meskipun kita udah menyampaikan informasi-informasi terkait vaksin. Silahkan, you can answer in bahasa Indonesia, bisa dalam bahasa Indonesia, nanti saya bantu translate. Silahkan. Atau mungkin ada yang share dulu, saya tidak langsung mau divaksin. Kenapa misalnya? Any thoughts or opinions? Okay, we have one comment here from Kamaliatus Sofiah. Okay, some of the communities they were lacking for their knowledge, and also they have what is it? Yeah, a tradition that make them what is it? Incorrect, yeah, incorrect tradition with the knowledge itself, and also some influence from the influence from the religious. Oh God, I lost it. Sorry, lost the comment.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
religious leaders. Mhm.
Mm. Okay. Thank you for your sharing, right? Now, so based on your sharing, we can recognize that if the public health was simple a matter of the biological and statistics, right? And then providing clear the scientific evidence about the dangers and about the risks of the virus should have led everyone to respond in the same rational way, the rational choice, right? However, the reality was quickness during the pandemic was very different. Yeah. For example, you can see, right? Many people who have the vaccines hesitant were not lacking information. But in fact, in reality, some were highly educated. Some actively follow the scientific update every day. Yeah. And some even work within the healthcare system or something like that. And this suggests that the health behavior does not operate boring according to the the rational scientific logic for a long time. And we see like public health communications has often been shaped what we might call like the how can I say the technocratic enlightenment approach. So what is that's the approach? It means the approach, the model assumes that people resist the health intervention simply because they lack information. So now that providing more scientific data will automatically change behavior, right? We less the data and now we have more the informations and we can change behavior, right? This is the assumption. Yeah, but medical anthropology shows us something much more complex. And human health behavior is never just a logical response to scientific fact, to scientific data. It is deeply shaped by trust, by belief, by moral values, fear, or even though like experience, social relations, or economic impressions and historical memories, or any any dimensions, like, and this is exactly why medical anthropology has an important contributions to make to public health communication today. And today i I want to share with you a little bit. We will discuss about why the people seek meaning and trust during time of the crisis. And before we start like this, we need to explore how the medical anthropology approaches pandemic, how the medical anthropology they rethink about the pandemic and how risks, and then we will discuss why the people seeking meaning and just during times of the crisis, and why the mixed informations and rumor emerge and spread, and or why distrust toward institutions develops. And the last one, we can think about some like the solution, the directions, what the public health. We are work at the public health area. What the public health can learn from the medical anthropology. How we can share the medical anthropologists and like the someone else work at the public health, how we can share the experience, the knowledge to identify, to design the solutions in the future. Yeah, and the key point is we should not view the misinformation simply as the result of the no or lack of the knowledge. Instead of we how can I say we try to understand the pandemic is as a social phenomenon, and that is close connected to the culture, the emotion, the social relationship, and the life experience. So now I want to start with like, so you can see like this, right? Look like the element model and the anthropological model. Yeah, and we move from the transmitting data to translating the meaning. Yeah. So now, what is the medical anthropology? I want to share with you a little bit about the medical anthropology. Yeah, medical anthropology actually is like the branch, like the subfield of the anthropology, and that is how can I say that examine how the culture, the belief system, the social structure, the economic conditions, political context, and so on shape the way people understand about the health, the way people understand about the illness, the healthcare, and how they practice like the hearing or the cure or the treatment or something like that. And another thing we can see like the rather than based on the medical anthropological approach, they view the human body look like as a biological system. Medical anthropological understand health and illness as experience. So that are the connected to social and cultural life. And this is one of the major differences between the bio like the biomedical approach and the anthropologic approach, right? And we can say like the biomedical science primaries focus on disease itself. For example, they identify the pathogen, the transmissions mechanism, or treatment methods, right? Or therapy or something like that. But anthropological, they uh, perspective, they focus on how people live with disease and how they make sense of the illness in the everyday life. Or we can say like in other words, we have like public health may ask, how does the virus spread? We think about the vector, right? So but anthropology asks additional question like, how do people feel? What are they afraid of? Who do they trust? How do they interpret the risks? How do the social experience shape their their responses? And these questions are extremely important because how behavior is during a pandemic is never shaped by scientific information alone. Is it also influenced by emotion, trust, social relationship, cultural meanings, and life experience? Yeah, and that's and it's meant the anthropology, medical anthropology, they mentions on like that. Um, so this is the three main approaches in medical anthropology. Yeah, within the medical anthropology, we utilize three primary analytical frameworks now. Number one, the biocultural approach try to examine the feedback loops between the human biology and the cultural environment is the first one. Um, the next is the interpreted approach. So now this approach try to devise deep into how the personal individuals ascribe symbolic meaning to suffering in order to the ender. And the last one we can say that we focus on the power and inequality, and we call like critical medical anthropology. And this approach focus on how power dynamics, the macro politics, and the economic inequality detected health outcomes. But yeah, and so when we think about that, when we use three main approaches in medical anthropology, sometimes because medical anthropology like the brand, there's a few of the anthropology, so sometimes they use some the approach, some the methodology from the anthropology, and ethnographic is the hallmark. Ethnographics is a hallmark. Like we talk about the image and ethic perspective, right? Um, Unlike the large-scale quantitative surveys in public health that operate from an ethic perspective, an outsider looking into impose redefine the criteria, but medical anthropologists they relies on ethnographic field to achieve an image perspective. What does image perspective? Because image perspective is meant they try to understand the world from the inside out according to communities our interpretation. When encountering a non-complement population, an anthropologist never boasts moralizing questions like what is wrong with them, and instead of they will ask why does this specific behavior make absolutely sense and hold coherent meaning within their worldview. Yeah. This the perspective from the anthropology you can see, right? Yeah. And here there's like we just like look at like the other climate classes a planetary model, and he is so famous in medical anthropology field, and he mentions on like explanatory model and some like pattern of resource health behavior, and like and another thing he also mentions on like the health system, the pluralism health system. Yeah. Based on this we say he distinguish between the disease and illness. The clinical medicines define disease as like abnormally in the structure and the functions of the body organs, right? And we need to measure by lab values, X-rays, or viral loads, right? However, the public does not experience a pandemic through the abstract concept of the disease, and they experience a true illness. They think about the holistic, the life experience of losing health. The illness encompasses extensional threat, the profound isolations of quarantine, the catastrophic loss of the livelihood, or sometimes like the social stigmatization. The system, the fracture in the public health communications occur when we address the public using the core, the clinical language of disease, while they are screaming and reacting in the how traumatized language of the illness. So now you can see, right, the differences between the disease and illness. The disease just focus on the biomedical view, but the illness they focus on the life experience. Yeah. So what does it mean? Yeah. When we distinguish about a disease and illness, it means that the public health campaigns target the disease, but the human behavior is reacting to illness. So now if you want to design a good campaign, the good public health campaigns, you need to understand about the human behavior, the way they react to illness. And then you have the ideas for the measures of the how we can control, how we can solve the issue, the health issue. Yeah. So now, this like look like my, how can I say, the I summarize based on the two ways to seeing a crisis. Number one, based on the public health. Number two, based on the medical anthropology, right? So here we can say the traditional public health, they traditional public health is exceptional proficiency proficiency at telling us what is happening on the ground through epidemiological metrics such as the basis reproductions number, right? Or they think about the mortality curve. Yeah. However, medical anthropology, they just like how can I say, medical anthropology, they step into answer the more fundamental questions like why it is happened this way. And without the anthropology, the public health operates blindly regarding behavioral variables. We often need the strategy pivot away from a poor technocratic mindset of data management to toward a profound framework of the human empathy and behavioral intelligence, right? So, but if you for example, like I can give you for like example like epidemiological data show us low the vaccine rate in a particular community. But anthropology will ask, is the issue really a lack of information? Or is it related to distrust toward institutions or reverse a negative experience with the healthcare system may be shaped or religious belief about like the economic insecurity, right? When we lock down, we cannot work, we cannot earn the money. The economic insecurity or fear, maybe they fear of the vaccine or social pressure or historical memories of the exclusions or inequality. So now this is important because how behavior is never rational or mechanical. The people do not make decisions based on scientific evidence. They don't make decisions based on the scientific data. Maybe their responses are shaped by life experience, the cultural values, the moral words, the family relationship, the community trust, and everyday survival concerns. So now, if we without understand these dimensions, the public health interventions maybe become highly technical, but also maybe we how can we say disconnected socially, and policies maybe appear scientific correct, but still fail because they do not resonate with how the people actually experience fear, uncertainty, or risk. Yeah, I remember that during the COVID-19, even though I so adaptive, right, and a positive thinking on yeah, but sometimes I feel uncertainty. I don't know about my life in the future. Yeah, I experience about the fear because I live with my family and my parents, and they are old now, around 80, nearby 80 years old. So now I'm so fear about them, and I feel like uncertainty. Yeah, I don't feel I don't scare about the risk, but I feel if I don't, how can I protect them? How can I protect my parents? Yeah, and therefore why, so that's why I need to intake the vaccine. But the vaccine when I intake, I remember I had freezer, right? Yeah, we have freezer, right? So number one, when I go to the hospital to intake the vaccines, I couldn't. I couldn't get. I couldn't. I couldn't because my emotional system it quick was quick. So they scare I will like the shock of the vaccine. So that's why they didn't intake me, and I have to go the second times, and I got the vaccines the second time when I go to the hospital again. I have to like the how can I say the consensus committee. I have to sign the paper. Okay, just intake if the shot I is my responsibility. It's not from the hospital or from the vaccines or something like that. Yeah, and therefore what we need is not simply better data management, right, or more information campaign. Actually, we need a wide, the broader framework that can combine the scientific evidence with empathy, with the social understanding and behavioral insight. And this is where the medical anthropology can make an important contributions by helping public health move beyond treating populations as statistical categories and instead understanding people and social and cultural being living through races in very different way. So, and this I want to introduce you about like the two ways of the seeing across, and we can see some the differences between like the public health approach and medical anthropology approach. So now the questions is right, how the medical anthropologists they refine the pandemic. And what is the pandemics? Yeah. How do you think about the pandemic? I want to listen to your sharing. What do you think about the pandemic?
Oke, silakan yang mau beropini, apa pendapat kalian terkait pandemi kemarin ya? Mungkin dikaitkan dengan antropologinya nih, seperti apa sih? Mungkin tadi sudah dijelaskan terkait pandangan etik dan emik juga. Silahkan yang ingin beropini terkait pandemi COVID kemarin ya, utamanya dari segi etik dan emiknya nih. Silahkan. Boleh dijawab dengan, boleh raise hand ya, silahkan, atau langsung unmute. Nanti pakai bahasa Indonesia juga tidak apa-apa, saya bantu translate. Silahkan. Ada yang mau menyampaikan pendapatnya? Anyone? You can raise your hand or you can type in the chat box.
Yeah.
Ada? Okay, maybe while we are waiting from the students, maybe I would like to share my own experience
Yeah.
during the COVID pandemic because I experienced myself that especially when the COVID vaccination came to us, in Indonesia, what is it? The first target is the health staff. But so when the vaccination will target the health staff, it didn't met any troubles. But when it came to the second target was the elderly because they were, they have the morbidity and something and something. So the second target in Indonesia was the elderly. And we met so many obstacles, especially when the health staff, they came door to door to the elderly's house to ask them to vaccinate themselves. Their sons, their daughters, their children were the one who refused to give the vaccination to the elderly. They were afraid that the vaccine was not safe for their parents. Maybe it could cause death because we know that the vaccine at that time was not what is it? They did not have enough time to test it, so they were afraid about the effect, the side effect to their parents. So that was the biggest challenges that Indonesia faced during the COVID vaccination when the second target. But when the third target was the productive age, it became pretty fast for the coverage, the vaccination coverage, because actually some of us, I mean most of us, yeah, most of us from the productive age, we really wanted to get to be vaccinated. So actually, maybe we still need, at the time, I think we need to have more or broader information about the vaccination itself, especially for the side effect to the elderly. That's my opinion.
Yeah, okay. Oh, thank you for your sharing. Yeah, like how can I say agree absolutely with you. And I want to share my experience a little bit, what I see and what I hear and what I feeling about during the COVID-19 with like the medical anthropological perspective, right? So now most of us when we think about the pandemic, right, we also wait at the beginning we think about like the infection numbers. yeah, lockdown policies, right? Or
Yeah.
sometimes like the public health measure and how we design the budget for like the vaccines or everything, how we can control the mortalities or incense like that, right? Yeah, but I remember that most a human experience during that period surrounding my neighbor, my neighborhood, right? I remember everyday life changed. The people became afraid of the physical contact,
Mm.
the public spaces. Yeah, and sometimes the even simple daily interactions they also like less the less daily interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at the same time, another people they experience the uncertainty. They feel loneliness, anxiety, or emotional exhaustion. And I remember one case, um, their family members they got like the virus, yeah, and the caregivers they stress.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the members got the virus, but the caregiver take care the persons got get stressed.
Mhm.
Yeah, and during the COVID-19, sometimes I observe how differently people responded to the same situation. And I recognize that some people close follow the health recommendations and trusted medical experts. Yeah, but other people they were hesitant, they skeptical, or they rely more on informations from family members or community experience, or sometimes they rely on rumors or misinformation or distrust. Yeah, and what struck me most was that differences were not always about the educations or access to informations. In many cases, I recognize they were connected to fear, previous experience with healthcare system, like me, because I'm scared of like the intake. So when got at the beginning when I go to the hospital, I cannot because I'm so scared. And when I'm so scared, right, I feel, how can I say, my heart like the beat so fast, and when they measure something uh, on my body and they check like the emotional system, and I show them my health checkup report to them, and he said, okay, no, he couldn't give me the vaccines. I should back home. I should be back home and keep my how can I say, my health status is unstable, and then back again maybe some days later. Yeah, as someone's working, and the people were not only trying to protect themselves from virus, they were also trying to protect their family. They they preserve their livelihood, and how they maintain the social relationship on phone. They connect via some the group, online group, and sometimes they make sense of the uncertainty in their own ways. And I think this is one of the important lessons from the COVID-19, to understand about like the health behavior. And so that's why we need to understand the human experience, emotions, or social realities behind those behavior. So and that's why something I I I I feel I rethink, I refined about like the pandemic, right? So now, so here the idea presented in this like the dual resist. And I think the COVID-19 clearly show us that a pandemic is never only a biological event, right? And but they have like a social risks, and social risks. Yeah. And so now you can see here the pandemics based on the medical anthropological approach. They think the pandemics as a total social phenomenon and syndemic. Okay. We must borrow to the first is the most concept of the total social phenomena. A pandemic is not an isolated in a medical. It is a totalized force that instantly intervenes, restructure, and turns upside down the economic, political, legal, and spiritual life of the civilization. The second concept is single dynamic. A virus never operates in a vacuum. It collides and interact destructively with pre-existing conditions of the structural violence, such as poverty and inequality. So this systemic synergy is what really cure the patient, not just the biological virulence of the pathogen. So that's why there is to the concept, to the classic concept, can help us redefine about pandemics as a total social phenomenon. So so now I use the iceberg model of the risk. Right? And you can see, right? The visible tip is made infection numbers, ICU bed capacity, vaccine coverage rate, but inside the iceberg, the submerged base, we think about the historical medical mistrust, political polarization, the structural violence. Right? And so the critical medical anthropology, they demand that we divide into submerged base to map out deep-seated institutional distrust and historical inequality. So, and this, I want to use this the iceberg model like this to share it with you today. So now we look at this, right? Biological and social pathogens. When we talk about uh, pandemic, the crisis, the crest of the pandemic. Okay. So now we can say the biological pathogen, the social pathogen, right? The SARS-CoV or the COVID-19. Another important is we can review during the COVID-19. The society was not only fighting of the biological virus. Yeah, they were not only fighting a biological virus. They're also confronting what we might call a social pathogen, the institutional distrust. Yeah. In some communities, the distrust towards government, the healthcare system, like the pharmacist companies, expert, or even scientific institutions become almost as the influential as the virus itself. What made this especially significant is that distrust spread socially. If we look like a biological pattern, right, we can see about this model, this approach spread, the virus spread through the physical transmissions. But how distrust spread? Yeah, how? What do you think? The virus will spread through the physical transmissions, but how distrust spread? Can you share? What do you think? How distrust can spread?
Silahkan yang mau menyampaikan opininya. Yuk, yuk, yuk. Silahkan, silahkan. Yuk. Yang dari MPK silahkan. Dari Magister Promosi Kesehatan. Any thoughts, any comments?
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Anyone?
Mm.
Maybe they're still thinking about it.
Yeah, just think about something are surrounding you. How distrust spread? Maybe from this? Maybe from this, right? Yeah, maybe
Right.
from
Yeah,
this. Yeah,
of
right?
course. In this era,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, actually, the distress spread to social interaction, the digital platform, the personal network, emotional narrative, or repeated experience of the uncertainty or disappointment. Yeah. And during the pandemic, the people were constantly exposed to enormous amount of information online. So you always use the phone, you scroll down, you access a lot of digital platform, right? The social media on the rim often how can I say amplified emotional charge content, especially fear, anger, or conspiracies narrative, because this form of the content generate stronger engagement and faster circulation. And at the same time, many people, many individuals tended to seek information, to find informations that confirm what they are already believe. And this is what we call confirmations bias. Yeah. And as a result, right, when the distrust could spread very quickly and because the ranks force within the social group and online communities. And when distrust become deeply rooted, scientific communications alone may no longer be enough. So that's why this because people do not evaluate information online based on the scientific evidence. They also evaluate the information based on number one, who is delivered the message. WHO, Ministries of Health, hospital, or leader of one unit. Number two, whether they trust the institutions behind it, or whether messages align with their life experiences, and whether they feel respected, heard, or protected by the system. Yeah, and in some cases, we can see that distrust became the strong that the community began retracted not only misinformations, but also legitimate public health guidance, vaccines, or preventive measures. And from in the anthropological perspective, this does not necessarily mean that people are irrational, rather than their responses are shaped by broader social experiences, the historical relationships with the institutions, the political polarizations, the economic insecurity, and the collective memories. So that's why it is from the anthropological perspective. And this is why the public health communications cannot rely on only on delivery more scientific fact. They need to build in trust. And the building just required long-term social relationship, transparency, the cultural understanding, the community engagement, and the institutional credibility. Or, or we can say like during a pandemic, the managing the biological virus is essential, but managing just may be equally important too, right? So that's why the I think about the pandemic, and when I apply the political pattern and the social pattern can help us rethink about the manage pandemic, how we manage pandemic. We ban we manage pandemic is mean manage, control the biological virus, and control just. So that's why we want to think about this, right? So this example, yeah, you can see my formulations, right? Yeah, this example. We have the outcome, efficiency, and the confident. Yeah, to explain the anthropological perspective in a way that also resonate with the college working in biomedical or public health science, we sometimes think about look like the simple formula. All wristband symbolize the actually outcome in society. Represent the technical efficiencies of biomedical intervention. And C is mean public trust. Public trust. For example, a vaccine may demonstrate 95% efficiency in the clinical trials, right? Scientifical, this is an extraordinary achievement. Yeah, it's an achievement. From a biomedical perspective, the tool itself is highly effective. Yeah, they think like that, right? But in a real life, in a real world setting, the technical efficiencies alone is never enough. The critical factor is whether people trust the institutions, people trust expert and system delivery that intervention. And if community distrust government, healthcare system, pharma companies, or science authorities, and then even the most effective biomedical interventions may fail to produce the desired outcome at the population's level. Yeah. And this is why I describe trust not as a soft communication issue or a commistic public relationship strategy, but just as a technical multiple line. Multiple line. Why I think like that? Why I describe like that? Because trust directly affect impacts whether people accept the vaccine, whether they follow the public health guidance, whether they seek medical care or whether they cooperate with some institutions, some the network during crisis. Yeah. And if trust becomes very low, you can see if C, if C approaches zero, then the overall outcome also collapse. Regardless how the scientific effective the interventions may be. Or we can think like a scientifically effective vaccines cannot protect a populations that fundamentally refuse or faces. And this is one of the major lessons from the COVID-19. Many governments and health systems, they focus on the producing scientific informations, but sometimes underestimated the importance of trust, the importance of social relationship, the historical experiences, and the community engagement. Yeah. So that's why medical anthropology they us remind us that people do not interact with the health interaction in purely technical ways. They interpret them through culture, memory, emotion, politics, and life experiences. And this means that successful public health responses require not only biomedical innovation, but also social like legitimacy and institutional fact. Yeah, so that's why the public health is not only about the producing effective technology, right? Need to think about building, need to think about building relationship in which people are willing to believe, cooperate, and participate. So now you can see here the structural violence and the anatomy of non-commonness, right? So how can I say the structure here? Maybe. So look like this. The structural violence. So you can see the structural violence force the vulnerable to choose between virus and starvation. I can give you some examples. So now, who is the first person to intake the vaccines in your country? Elderly. What else? Who else? Elderly? Only elderly?
Elderly was only for the first target for the vaccine.
Who else?
The first target was the health staff, and then the second target was the elderly.
Health staff.
And then,
How about some like the like the shipper?
the sweeper.
Yeah, the wrap. The someone I look like the delivery something for you. The shipper.
Uh, like the delivery guy.
Yeah, look like the
A person who
delivery
has
guy.
high mobilization.
Oh, yeah, yeah, because they had risk, but
Yeah,
they
they
are
have
not
high
the
risk.
first person to intake the vaccines, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but can you share why? What do you think? Is it appropriate or not?
Yes, I think because they met so many people in their job during
Mm,
their everyday life, so they have the highest risk during the
yeah.
COVID pandemic. Yes.
Um, yeah. Okay. So if you see this, you can the concept of the structural violence.
Mhm.
Yeah, clarify the true nature of the public non-compliance. The public have maybe they mandate should get stay at home or
Yeah.
work from home.
Mhm.
Uh, in reality, it's deeply embedded with class privilege, right? The first person to intact, the first person get the vaccines. And for a day laborer in a slum or an informal street vendor,
Mhm.
they stay at home. It's not health protective measure.
Yeah.
It's a direct sentence to starvation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they cannot earn the money.
Mhm.
Yeah. When we issue the blanket mandate without recognizing that the socio-economic architecture has stripped the poor of the capacity to comply, we are executing structural violence upon them, and their resistance is not a product of ignorance. It's an instinctive strategy for immediately survival. They think about survival. Yeah. So now, if we think about radio here, the role of the human dignity in healthcare behavior. The health behavior is inseparable link to an individual sense of the human dignity. And when the authority employ heavy-handed, the core efficacy tactic that treat the citizens are mere biological vector is to be managed, and they trigger a profound psychological defense mechanism within the living body. And in many historic contexts, the rejections of official medical interventions is not a reject of the science itself, but rather a desperate assertions of agency, a way to reclaim the body autonomy, and they want to protect personal dignity against to a system perceived as the dehumanizing. So now we can see here the meaning, uncertainty, and the rumor ecosystem, how what they are and how they work. Yeah. So at the beginning, I talked about like the technologic alignment model, right? And we can see like what is the uncertainty, what is the trust, what is distrust. Yeah. So now we can say for decades many institutions operate with a simple assumption. If the scientific expert produce accurate information, and if that information is transmitted clearly to the public, then the rational individual will automatically modify their behavior. They change their behavior. Yeah. The fact, understanding, and compliance. Uh, And this logic is rooted in alignment thinking, where the human beings are imaged primarily as the rational actors who make decisions through detect calculation. And from this perspective, misinformation is treated merely as a deficit of knowledge, and communication failures are assumed to be solvable by supplying more data, more statistic, more expert authority. But the pandemic demonstrated this model is incomplete because anthropological evidence from many societies show that the scientific information never entered a social vacuum. The facts do not move directly into behavior. Instead of they pass through layer of interpretation shaped by the culture, the memory, the class positions, the family obligations, and economic survival. This is why two individuals exposed to the exact same embedment embedmentical data may be respond in radical different way. One person they interpret the vaccinations as the collective moral responsibility. But other people, other persons, they interpret it as like the state intrusions. One family sees social distancing as the civic duty, but other experience it as like abandonment, abandonment of the kinship obligation. One community judges medical institutions because of positive history encounters, right? But other they distrust them because of histories of exclusions, inequality, and political violence. So the pandemic revealed that emotions are not irrational noise interfering with the public health policy. That the central mechanism through which the people evaluate risk and make decisions. So fear, shame, anxiety, hope, social belonging on shape health behavior as powerful as medical knowledge. We can see one simple example. Many people fully understood that large gathering increased viral transmission risk. They were not ignorant of the science, but they still attended funerals, religious ceremonies, weddings, or family reunions. Why? Because refusing participation could threaten social solidarity, violent moral obligations, or damage kinship relationship accumulated over generations. And if from the epidemiological perspective, the gathering is a transmission event, but from the anthropological perspective, is also a moral event. And this distinction is crucial. Or similarly, another. When we observe about economically vulnerable population, staying home during lockdown were often not realistic behavioral option. The public health message, the public health messaging that frame compliance as merely a matter of the rational choice. It's not the structural realities of informal labor, precarious income, the food insecurity, and daily survival. So, therefore, the anthropology challenge the simplistic assumption that resisting automatically equal ignorance. Sometimes resistance reflects the complete moral system. Sometimes it reflects history destroyed. Sometimes it reflects the structural inequality. Or sometimes it reflects the fact the human being prioritize immediately social survival over abstract probabilistic risk. Yeah, and the implication is not that science is unimportant. The implication is not that science is important, but on the other hand, biomedical expertise remains indispensable. But anthropology reminds us that scientific validity alone does not guarantee social legitimacy. A technical correct message can still fail social if it ignores local meanings or emotional reality and life experience. So, in fact, pop health communications require more than information transmission. It required cultural translation. It required emotional intelligence or institutional trust building. Right? So now, if we say we anatomy the vacuum of the meaning zone uncertainty, we can see like this, right? Um, how can I show you here? The visual anthropology framework: image, medium, and body. Okay, so you can see here, right? The social intimacies and institutional authority. Um, during the strict lockdown, during the strict lockdown, we can see like how can I say the physical bodies of the citizen are confined within four walls. Yeah, we stay at home, stay inside the room. We face four walls, right? But the smartphone, how is the smartphone? The smartphone ceases to be an external gadget. It mutates into an organic neural extensions of the human body and mind. Eh? We can see like how can I say the individual they enter the state of the deep. How sometimes we say the string absorption, living within a hybrid space where the boundaries between the physical reality and virtual simulations dissolve entirely. Social media algorithms they designed to optimize user retentions via negative emotions like outrage and fear, weaponize this mirror identity, transforming private worries into the massive warfare of the institutional skepticism on the road or something like that. And you can see this look like we think about institution, the information they give distant, the face heavy, the lack empathy, but the social they think about the familiar, the share identify, the emotional resonance. Yeah, we we think of like this the map, right? And when we antinomy of the misinformations we see about the rumor, the scientific, yeah, we can see the remote ecosystem by biomedical lens and anthropological lens is so different. Rumor behave like a microbiome. They adapt and exploit weaken social immune system. So now I want to share with you a little bit about just change vulnerability map. Yeah. When we think about that, when we think about the authority in the digital age. The trust in the public health operate within a delicate multi-tier trust chain. For a citizen, they really extend their arm to be frontline nurse of a vaccine. The health communications must pass through several critical nodes. The citizen must trust the nurse. The nurse must trust regional health authority, right? The authority must trust the ministry, and the ministry must trust independent science. If any single link in the chains fractures, for instance, through a public scandal involving procurement corruptions or pharmacy profiteering, the entire chain collapses, and very subsequent scientific recommendation is viewed with intense suspicions as a hidden agenda. So you can see, look like the chain, right? The stakeholder they make the chain, and we call the trust chain vulnerable map. For example, it is a little case study, the WhatsApp rumor. During the COVID-19, the misinformation rapidly spread through the family chat group, and the people forward the rumor not because they fact checked the science, because they implicitly trust the sender. The misinformation travel to the social relationship, not just the technology. So sometimes we say, "Oh, I got the misinformations via online, via TikTok." Actually, no, we don't get the misinformations via TikTok. We get misinformations through social relationship. You you believe someone else on the TikTok sharing you. Right? And we have like the high trust, the medium trust, and the low trust. And you can see who you trust, high trust. You trust in family, close friend, WhatsApp group, or the low trust you just low. Maybe some people they don't believe, they don't trust in the WHO, they don't trust in CDC, they don't trust in federal government. They just but like a little, a small score, not high score. And so now I can show you like there's the case study, the mass guardianship, right? And you can see like some, let us analyze the classes case of the communications breakdown. For like the wearing masks, I remember that at that time most of the people on the keep social distancing, wear a mask every day, everywhere, or something like that, right? Um, so now at the beginning of the pandemic, the several health organizations like WHO or CDC, they advise us. They advise how members of the general public did not need to wear mask. And then at the institutional level, these recommendations was partially shaped by a practical emergency. Severe shortage of medical grade protective equipment for frontline healthcare workers. So that's why it's like the story in 2020, right? And then you can see the from perspective of the bureaucratic crisis management. The logics were understandable. Authority fear, benefit buying, supply collapse, and inability of the hospital to protect doctors and nurses. Or sometimes we call the communication strategy were influenced not only by biomedical evidence but also by logistical and political consideration. But however, some several months later, the official recommendation changed dramatically. The universal masking became strongly encouraged and in many places legally mandated. The scientific institutions interpreted this shape as a normal figure of scientific practice. The hypothesis involved the evidence accumulate, the recommendations adapt accordingly. And within science, revising conclusions in light of the new evidence is considered in intellectual strength, not quickness. Yeah, and but the public often interpreted the situations very differently. Many people did not perceive this as a science updating itself. Instead of, they perceive contradiction. They ask a fundamentally political questions. If masks work now, why we previously told they were unnecessary? And this is where the anthropological become essential. They think about the public trust. The public trust is not the built only on technical accuracy. It is built on perceived honesty, the transparencies, and moral consistency. And when the people suspect the institutions are not strategically withholding information, even though even for like the grammatical reasons, the communications begin to shift from relationship of trust to relationship of suspicion. And suspicion is socially contagious. In highly polarized environments, the reversal of mask guidance becomes symbolic evidence for broader narrative, claiming that governments, scientists, or international organizations were manipulating the public. And what health institutions consider adaptive evidence-based policies were reinterpreted by many communities as deceptions, incompetencies, or alleged hypocrisy. So, anthropologically, this demonstrates a critical principle. People evaluate not only contents of the messages, but also the credibility of the messenger and the perceived motive behind communication. Behind communication. Yeah? And these distinctions matter enormously. The scientific institutions often communicate as true uncertainty quickens authority. And as a result, they may present the provisional knowledge with the excessive certainty in order to maintain the public confidence. They aren't only when the recommendations later change, that the performative certainty can produce the even greater distrust. So now, the institutional overconfidence can become self-destructive. So, what is the lessons from this case? The lesson from this case is the uncertainty is not the enemy of the science. Uncertainty is intrinsic to science. The scientific knowledge evolved through the revisions, debate, correction, and adaptation. But if institutions fail to communicate this process transparently, the public may interpret normal scientific evaluations as the evidence of the disorderly. And this is why the anthropologists they emphasize that effect racist communications require epistemological humility. Institutions must explain not only what they know, but also what they do not yet know. What assumptions guide current policy, and why recommendations may later change. Transparency about the uncertainty can strengthen legitimacy because it's aligned with institutional communications with the live reality. And during risks, and people can tolerate the uncertainty more easily than they can tolerate perceived manipulation. And therefore, the mask controversies was not merely a debate of the public health policies. Actually, it became a global lesson about the trust, authority, institutional legitimacy, and the fragile social foundations upon which scientific communications depend. Yeah, and I want to share with you a little bit about this case, the mass guardianship, and it can happen how we action trigger the just austerity spiral now. How, right? So we when confident rumors and the public non-compliance, the classic error of the technocratic managers is to be deploy punitive measure. They issue pants, censor informations, or threaten legal prosecution. Yeah, and in the medical, in the critical antibody, record this the just austerity spiral. The just austerity spiral is mean you utilizing administrative force. They never extinguish a rumor. On the other hand, it serves as the ultimate validations of a conspiracy narrative. The public will reasons look they are using force to silence us, and with proof the rumor are accurate, and they are hiding a terrible truth. Punitive measures drive rumor into underground the network. Mut, they how can I say mutating them into the highly resilient resilient form of the ideological resistance. Yeah. And I show you four part already. So now we move the last part. We talk about the implications for public health. How we do. How we control the trust. How we misinformation, distrust. How? I want to listen from you because I recognize that you come from like the public health, right? Your
Yes.
major, yeah. So I think maybe from your view side, from
Mhm.
your side, you have a lot of implications or solutions
Yes.
for this. Can we share? And I will share my uh, anthropological perspective.
Okay, please, everyone, do you have any ideas on how to reduce misperception or mistrust? Please, anyone has any comments? You can raise your hand or um, you can raise your hand or unmute yourself. You can unmute yourself. You can also type your answer in the chat box. How do you think we can reduce mistrust? Gimana caranya, mistrust and misperception ya. Bagaimana caranya kita bisa mengurangi mispersepsi?
Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor, for your question. I think, first of all, we should consider like doctor and leaders to share the information because they are more trustable. And moreover, I think the people should always try to share trustable information or accurate information. So, for example, as you said, Professor, about the like sharing misinformation in Afghanistan. I'm originally from Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, we have the same things. So, in COVID-19 pandemic, people thought that using like green tea can like prevent the spread of infection. Most of people on that time drink green tea. This was
Yeah.
just a misinformation because some people said that. So all of people believed to that. So they think that it's also true. So I think the most important thing is like we have Minister of Public Health, we have WHO, so they can share information, and so we should usually trust on them, not on everyone that we saw in everywhere. So we should trust doctors, those who are trustable, those who has knowledge in that field. I think in this sense we can like prevent mistrust. Thank you.
Wow, thank you for your sharing. It's like maybe it's one of the best way. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
anything else? Anything else? Who want to share?
Anyone
Yeah.
else? Anyone
Mm.
else who wants to share? Bagaimana cara mengurangi mispersepsi, miskonsepsi? Anyone? Not yet.
Yeah, okay, based on, yeah, but I have the questions I want to discuss with you based on I think many people we agree a little bit or agree partial or agree 100% with their with his sharing, right? But I want to continue the discussions. But you think you talk about the share informations, right? We need to share more informations, but how can her communications become less dry and more engaging now? Because when I see like the health communication, I feel more. Yeah, and actually we use infographic or we use like the video clip or everything. But how can her communication becomes less dry and more engaging now?
Uh, Sorry again. So I think they should use simple words when engaging with people, and also they should be somehow more kind. I think more kind. So it means that they
Yeah.
should engage more effectively. Like they should spend more time to speak with people to communicate. So, for example, we saw several people. They don't have much time. They just don't care. They just speak a less, then ignore everything. So I think it's not effective. So they should use simple words like common words that people can understand. So they should think themselves as the people that are affected. So in these terms, I can they can receive the trust of the people and also can share information in effective way. I think this is also a way that people that health workers or health community can engage in effective way and also in trustable way, reliable way.
Yeah, I also agree with you, right? But I want to share I want to share my opinion about that. How we how we do that, right? I think about like number one, because public health, we often assume that providing correct information is enough, and we need to let the short information, the brief information, so easy for everyone to get it, right? And we assume that we when we provide the correct information is enough, maybe can help the people change their behavior. Yeah, but the health communications become ineffective in at the beginning, maybe half more effective, but if we last time, like the pandemic lasts so long time, and we can see the health communications is decrease. And when it is simply imposes static and directive from the top down. So now, to improve the communication, I think about number one, we can replace like the on-way informations model with dialogue. We the listen instead of only speaking. Yeah, I think like that. Before you issuing recommendations, before you announce, you inform the recommendations in the community, the health authority need to understand the fear and the cultural values of the community. Because, for example, the elderly community maybe is so different with like the children, or some like the athlete and the shipper, the delivery guide, so different, so different approach. So if you just like you have a lot the health communications like official, and you ignore the listening, you ignore the understand the cultural value of the community, that when people feel heard and understood, the health messages become more relatable and less lecturing. So I think so. Yeah. And number two, maybe we think about everything at a pandemic is not only a biomedical crisis, it's also the crisis of trust. So the communication strategies, maybe we focus on rebuild trust. Yeah. How we rebuild trust? Just think like use the language of the community. Instead of like we relying heavily on technical terminology or scientific jargon, the communicators should use the everyday language and the cultural familiar symbols to explain the complex health concepts. Yeah. Or we can think like be transparent about the uncertainty, because rather than trying to appear always certain or always correct, the experts should acknowledge what the science still does not know and what is the still evolving. And this honest making communications feel more human and can reduce the public's suspension. Yeah. Um, if we try to apply the insight from medical anthropological perspective, how? Because medical anthropology, they show that the people do not act based on the scientific logic. They also act through the emotion, identity, and the social meaning. So the ambit health message within cultural value is important. The health recommendations should be connected to community value. For example, stay if we say wear a mask to avoid the virus, right? It's so shortly information and direct to everyone, right? But if we say like that, it's not good. And we should think about the different way to send this message. And the communicator could say, okay, now wearing the mask is a way to protect the people you love most. Wearing the mask is not avoid the virus. Wearing the mask of protect by yourself, protect yourself and your family, the people you love. Yeah. Or you can work with just community figure. Stick up Instead of you rely on doctors or government official, maybe you think about like community leaders, religious figures, influencers, or ordinary citizens sharing their life experience. And this allow health messages to enter everyday life in more natural and engaging way. Yeah. And and this is my opinion when I try to apply the insight from medical anthropology to design the health communications message. Yeah. Or if you like, how can I say? If you come from like infographic design, right? If you come from infographic design, you think about the visualizations and experience-based communication. You turn data into visual experience. You use infographics, short videos, visual storytelling, or interactive tools. Stick up long block the text. The handbook is so boring, right? Or just like how can I say, the leaflet, yeah. Or we can focus on why, not only what and why. So how combinations become less dry when it stops functions as pure scientific command and control the system, and instead becomes a sincere social conversation and to rebuild the trust and repair, fix the structure within society. And I think this is my I want to share with all of you today. Yeah. And another thing I want to show this a little bit. Yeah. For this, right? So mm, we can say like the time has arrived for revolutionary epidemiological pivot in public health governance. The latency technologic model views the public as the passive, uneducated mass characterized by high-risk behavior, and thus must be corrected from the top down. And conversely, a trust-centered anthropological model recognizes that the public as the active cultural patterns, and they boast the unique historical context, distinct worldviews, and valuable localized knowledge. And the missions of the modern public health is not a aggressive government, their physical body, but to engage in the respectful dialogue and core design safety strategy alongside them. So and then this for strategy, I think. Okay. Number one, decentralized ownership to hyperlocal network. Right. Um Number two, operationalize rumor as a social barometer. Number three, the cultural translations of medical conception. Um, the last one, communicative humanities and radical transparency. Yeah, and so now I propose a paradigm shift in system operations, we integrate trust variable into national public health surveillance as a vital science of the population. Um, Currently, every nation maintains real-time dashboard tracking infection curve and mortality rates. Why do we not boast a real-time system to monitor the public? Trust Index regarding health directive or by fusing rapid qualitative ethnography with the big data, the social media sentiment analysis, we can map the the skepticism across the geographic regions or socioeconomic classes, or the localized drop in the trust index solve an early warning method that political interventions are on at the failing in that zone. So now I want to finish my presentations, and I leave you with this core message to guide your future career. People do not simply believe fact. They believe people. They believe relationship and system they trust. So the further of modern public health forbid us from operating merely as a core biological engineers in isolated office. Your true missions is to build an unbreakable synthesis between biomedical knowledge to understand the pathogen and social cultural understanding to understand the human being. And only then can we construct a public health character that is truly humanized, resilient, and structural resist proof for the generations to come. And thank you very much for your time and for your engagement. And if you have any questions, we can share a little bit in the short time at the beginning of at the end of today.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Fukli, for your impressive presentation. Please give any reactions to Dr. Fukli, everyone. Okay, from the chat box, we have 3 questions, Dr. Fukli.
Yeah.
The first question is from Siska Wulandari. She asked, in several cases in Indonesia, there is rejection of certain types of vaccines, even though their efficacy is reported to be high by our government. So based on the formula O equals E multiplied by C, previously explained, should the government focus more on improving vaccine technicalities or instead invest more heavily in public communication strategies?
Okay. Okay, thank you for your questions. Just one questions or I think
Okay. Do you want me to read the second question?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. The second question is from Mr. Max. Regarding the distortion of public information, which often confuses the public in receiving and analyzing information, what strategic steps should be taken by the ministry, especially the Ministry of Digital Communications and also the Ministry of Health and the authorities related to the dissemination of public information in preventing and mitigating the problem of distortion of health information, which often cause chaos? That's the second question.
Okay.
Okay, and then the third question is from Yunda Yutisa Purnomo. She asked about the mass guidance shift framework. She said, It explained that the public often misinterprets changes in scientific data as a form of institutional inconsistency. So what is the government's ideal public communication strategy that when there are new data-based policy changes, the public does not immediately feel suspicious or fall for hoaxes?
Okay.
That would be the third question.
Okay, so now I have a lot of questions, right? I
Okay.
think like yeah. Okay, thank you for your questions. Maybe I share something I know with you, right? So um for like the formula, right? The formula, the first questions we focus on the formula, right? So now for the formulas I want to share, actually the formula is often used in the crisp communications and public perceptions study. And the formula suggests that even if a vaccines have very high scientific efficiency, the overall public outcome can still be quick. And if communications and trust are low. So now you share about the Indonesian cases, right? The maybe report that the vaccine is highly effective scientifically, but the vaccine rejected can still occur because people do not evaluate vaccines only through biomedical evidence. They also evaluate just in institution, just in religious concerns, the rumors, the social media's narrative, the community expansive, and emotional perceptions of the Christ, everyone. And so now, if from a medical anthropology perspective, the health behavior is not only the rational or evidence driven. The people often ask, who is giving this information? And can I trust them? And does this align with my value and community belief? And therefore, the government should not focus on only improving vaccines technically. The technical quality is necessary, but it's not insufficiency by itself. So that's why we should to think more about try to apply the insight when we control, when we design the health communications measures. If you want to use this formula, the formula look like the approach for you when you want to um, improve the efficiencies of the health communication. Yeah, this is for the first questions, right? Um, and another questions regarding to the distortions of the public information which often confuse the public is receiving and analyzing information, what the strategy step should be taken by ministry or ministry of digital communications of health and authority related to the dissemination, right? So how can I say this, right? I think um in my opinion, the public health campaign or the health communications campaign is not from one unit. It's not from one organizations like Ministry of Health or ministries of digital communications. I think it's come from corporations among organizations or among the health unit. Yeah. So that's like how can I say the I want to share a little bit about the some strategy the some strategy steps can be taken by Ministry of Health and related authority. Number one, build trust, right? Not only information campaign. Yeah, you think about how the authority should recognize that people do not accept informations. Yeah, the authority should recognize that. And another thing, maybe authority also evaluate whether the source of trustworthy, transparent, and empathetic. So why I say like that? Because this means the communicating consistently, they acknowledgement uncertainty, honesty. we avoid contradictory statement, or when institutions change recommendations, they should clearly explain why the scientific understanding evolved rather than appearing inconsistent or selective. Yeah, I think the building trust, like the authorities should think about that. And number two, I also share, maybe we think about the shift from one-way communications to public dialogue. How what the authority need to do. Maybe you listen to the community fears and the concerns. You need to understand the local cultural belief. You need to create the spaces for public questions and participation. Yeah, because people are more likely to trust information when they feel heard rather than lecture. Yeah. And number four, we can no number three, we can think about strengthen digital and health literacy. And so I think the topic on the health literacy is now the most the scholar concerns, right? We focus on the health literacies and conduct a lot of research on the health literacies and how we can strengthen digital and health literacies, because I think the long term we have, when we talk about the strategy preventions, we also like the short term and the long term. And if we focus on the long term preventions require improving, I think we should think about digital literacies, the media literacies, or health literacies, because people should be trained to identify misleading content. They need to be trained about verified sources, how understand the scientific uncertainty, and how and critical evaluate viral claims on the social media. And this should begin not only during races, but also through school, university, or maybe communication a community educations program. Yeah, we can embed it. We can align it with some course, some program in school, university, and even though the community. Yeah, we can think like that. Yeah, it's just my opinion when I think about this. Yeah. Um, how can I say? How can I say? Okay, and the last questions I forgot. The last questions I find on the chat box, but I forgot. Uh, Sorry, the
Sorry,
last
yes, I
questions.
was muted. Yeah, the last question is about the mask guidance shift. Yes.
Mass guardianship. Yeah, I can see now the young from the Bruno Mo, right? From the Bruno Mo,
Yes,
right?
that's right.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay. For this, the mask ship, right? Actually, I just want to share with you like the how they change, how they shape the way they communicate, the way they send the messages to the people protect themselves during the COVID-19. Okay. So now, based on your questions, I see the changes in policies. So sorry, I have the phone emergency now.
Okay.
So sorry because uh, the shipper shipped the document for me. So
Okay, that's fine.
yeah, the in my opinion, the changing in policies, how can I say, sometimes be based on the new scientific data, right? Because I think nowadays most the strategy we base on the scientific data, and we design the strategy decides the program action, the policies. Yeah, but I think the problem is that how can I say the problem is that the public often interpret these changes as a size so different with the institutions. So now an idea for the public communication. Maybe I will share a little bit about the my case, one case from my research on the Central Highland, about like the elderly, they use the applications to search, to seek information, health literacies, yeah, health information, yeah. For IT public communication, so I think number one, we can explain the science like the dynamic. I think I think we need to show like the dynamic. The dynamic is mean some the government think about what they want to emphasize from the beginning that have recommendations. And number two, when you change the health recommendations as based on the scientific evidence, based on the scientific informations, you need to embed, you need to align, understanding evolved, and how we can make community engagement with you is so important. And I think you can, some like how can we ask the community join with you. It's so important, and it's so difficult for us to do that. Yeah, maybe you can think about like some abroad behind say PRA, the parties, the how can I say PRA is mean like veterinary assessment rural, and it can help. It can give you a lot of tools how to work with the community, how to make the community engagement with you when you decide the program or the strategy. Yeah, yeah. This is my sharing. I think today I so happy today because I can listen from your case and your sharing, and I hope we can connect more in the future. So yeah.
Yes. uh, I'm very sorry, Dr. Fukli. Do you still have time?
Yeah, because I have the another class
Oh,
at
okay. Okay.
11:30.
Oh,
11:30,
okay.
because I have my university. We have two campuses. One campus
Oh,
in
yes, yes.
the
Mm-hmm.
center city, and another campus like the suburban. So I need to take the shuttle bus for the
Okay.
lecturer from this campus to another campus. So I
All
have
right.
to leave around 11:30.
Okay, okay, no problem. Actually, we still have a question from Rahmatullah and then Theodoris Aryani and also from Unitatria. But I think since we have limited time, I think we have to end this session. We would like to thank you very much, Dr. Fukle Tingop, for the insightful presentation and for sharing such valuable perspectives with us today. And the
Yeah.
discussion has been very interesting and also enriching for our students as well, especially in understanding the communication during pandemic situation from the anthropological perspectives. We truly appreciate your time and also your willingness to share your expertise with our students, especially from the health promotion, the Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Diponegoro. And after this session, we will contact you again regarding several administrative matters. And once again, thank you very much, Dr. Fukle, for joining the Undip Global Classroom. We truly appreciate your contribution to the Undip Global Classroom. We also thank you to all of our students for your active participation in today's session. We hope this session provides valuable perspectives for you. Thank you very much
Yeah.
once again. Don't forget to fill up the presence form I will end up this. I will wrap up this session. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, Dr. Fukle. Thank you very much. I'll see you
Yeah,
soon.
okay. Thank you very much for Kai give me like opportunity to share today. And I would like to sincerely thank the organization committee again, or participant and some the college, okay, some like college for engaging my sharing and some the thoughtful the questions we discussed a little bit about. And I
Yeah.
truly appreciate the community to exchange my perspective on such an important topic nowadays, and especially at a time when the issue of the trust and the communications and public health remain highly relevant globally. Yeah, and thank you once again and for your
Thank you.
attentions and participations. And I also look forward to further discussions and collaborations in the future with your university and with all of you.
Thank you. And Professor Zahra said that she will contact you regarding the double degree and joint degree program with your faculty for our future collaboration.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
Dr. Fukle.
you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, bye bye. Take care.
Take care. Thank you very much.
Yeah.